The Greek population in Knoxville, Tennessee dates back to 1915. At the time, there were very few immigrants and no Greek Orthodox Church. In 1946, there was enough people and enough money raised, and they bought an old Baptist church in downtown Knoxville on Broadway. They worshiped in this church for about 22 years, and then in 1968, they bought their own plot of land and St. George Greek Orthodox Church was built. It was founded and built by the love and the support of many dream-filled, hard-working immigrants. The church was a symbol not only of the hard work that it took to build the church, but of the hard work that it took to make a life for themselves in a country that was not their own. Many of these immigrants came from Everthania, Greece. In our community today, we have Romanian, Serbian, Ethiopian, and Middle Eastern immigrants. These immigrants all had something in common. They were all hard workers trying to make a better life for themselves and their family. When they came to America, they didn't have much. They didn't know English, and many of them didn't have family or friends when they came to Knoxville. St. George brought them together and helped them build life-lasting relationships with people that were like them. These immigrants got extremely close to one another. They would work with each other, go to church with each other, and baptize each other's kids. In Knoxville, there is one neighborhood where many of the immigrants built their houses. Within this neighborhood, you will find a street with 7 houses of immigrants. We refer to this street as Greek Street. Although we make jokes and we laugh about it all the time because it is very stereotypical, it shows just how close these immigrants got to one another. They could have built their houses in any place in Knoxville, but they chose Broom Road because they wanted to be as close as they could to one another. Coming from a community with a newer church, I have had the opportunity to know and connect with the immigrants that founded it. Many of the immigrants that came around in 1968 are still around today. These immigrants are the backbone of St. George. They play big roles in the baking for Greek Fest, prepping for any church gathering, and in many other places in our community. They have always been strong supporters of St. George. They have stood by the church throughout it being in an old Baptist church on Broadway, to the building of their own place of worship, through all of the financial mishaps, to the fire that destroyed the inside of the sanctuary that they worked so hard for, and everything in between. After the fire, the immigrants were one of the first people to arrive and help salvage and clean anything that was not destroyed. The fire was such a devastation to the Knoxville community. None of us thought that this would ever happen. Many of us lost hope that we would ever get to go back inside of our church again. The immigrants, however, helped give us hope that we would get to go inside of our beloved church once again. They told us they had seen St. George being built once in their lifetime, and they would live to see it happen again. Now, about 2.5 years later, St. George is slowly but surely getting peace back to the way it was in 1968. The immigrants in our community are by far the biggest supporters of the youth. They know all of our names, they come to most of our events, and they never fail to congratulate us for anything we have achieved. For me personally, I have connected with these immigrants, especially the ladies, in the past couple of years. It all started when I came to help in the summers to bake for Greek Fest. They have impacted me because I have learned how to make many dishes because of them. They taught me tips and tricks to making baklava, spanakopita, tsureki, and many other Greek dishes. During our breaks from baking, I would spend time talking to these immigrants about their life, their journey to America, and the history of St. George since they have gotten to Knoxville. These stories really motivated me to base my personal initiative off of the immigrants that founded my church. I thought it was important that we included their stories into our church's history book that we are creating. I spent time talking to 4 ladies about their journey and their husband's journey to America, specifically Knoxville. I talked to them about their early life in Greece, how they met their husbands, and their journey to America. These stories are a big reason as to why we still have a Greek community in Knoxville. I have really cherished all of the knowledge that I have learned from these ladies, and I hope to pass it on to future generations so it can live on forever. I have gotten extremely close to these ladies that they have gotten to be like my yiyadas, and I have become like a granddaughter to some of them. The immigrants are and were very successful in the greater Knoxville community. In the early days, we had immigrants that were successful restaurant owners, video store owners, photographers, and liquor store owners. In our community today, we have doctors, lawyers, car dealership owners, police officers, and gym owners. These immigrants possess the same traits that were evident in the 1968 immigrants. They are all very hard workers, family-oriented, and very involved in our church. These immigrants are the reason as to why we continue to pass on our Greek and our Orthodox traditions. Not only did they manage to come to America and make new lives for themselves, they also held on to their religious beliefs, their culture, and their language in their new home, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
HDF Odyssey, go.
Gym owners and car close to the immigrants in our communities, especially the communities we have won. Congratulate us for anything we have achieved.